This is Urdizzle back with my Zero to Hero series, Chapter 2, Episode 4. And in this video, we're going to walk you through some of the grind of the AI. And I'm just going to show you some highlights without showing every single round, which is just not practical. These are some of the highlights of the AI tournaments that I played. So an ace on Blueberry. And then this particular one obviously wasn't an ace, but I just wanted to show you some of the results I got, which tournaments I played, how I performed. And so in this particular tournament, this was the Blueberry Clash, decent score of 21 under. And so you can see I'm still level 2 as we are progressing towards higher levels and hopefully acquiring some better discs. And here's the tail end of another round at Grizzly Gulch. Again, pretty solid play at this point. Only won by 2 strokes on the B tier, but still playing reasonably well with what I would consider a lower level bag. You know, I've got some nice stuff, but getting close. And as you'll see as I start leveling up right here, Explorer with no attributes, couple compasses. So again, we're not going to be getting any good discs for the foreseeable future until we get to at least maybe level 11 and we get some decent recoils, but level 21 I believe for the ballistas and ballista pros. So again, here's the tail end with my discs I'm able to get through there with my ballistas and ballista pros. So that was the ballista pro, hole 9 there, so another B tier. Again, that one pretty comfortable win there, 27 under on the grip lock challenge. So again, I was pretty happy with that. And I don't know if I'll have enough coins to acquire any decent discs in the shop because you're not going to get any of the good ones until you level up. So it's kind of a catch-22. You don't get the discs from leveling up until you get at a decent level, and you can't buy them from the shop until you level up. So you're pretty much not going to get anything better than what you have in the bag. All right, so here's the tail end on Lakeside, showing you that even without some of the big drivers to get across for the Albatross, it's still, I wouldn't call it a gimme eagle, but it's a very, very easy eagle in this one. Just kind of light up, throw the Explorer or the River right up there. It's very easy. So this particular one, let's see the scorecard. So I'm 19, so I've got a 6-stroke lead. So for most of these early ones, once you're developing skills, like obviously I've played quite a bit, and so even with this bag, I can do reasonably well. This is a good test of your skill set to see if you are good enough to kind of compete in the multiplayer and pro tours at the different divisions. I mean, if you can beat B tours consistently by multiple strokes and then eventually move up to the A tiers, you should be at least competitive, winning, getting second, or at least getting some good stuff in multiplayer. And so that was not a good shot. Way off to the left. And that's one of those where not really knowing the discs. Like, I know the discs, but they're a lot different than what I normally use, and I have to make shots like that to save eagle. I'm not used to a lot of these. But like here, the only disc I really wish I would have at this stage with this bag is probably the Accurate Wind River. Obviously everybody would want a better Ballista Pro or something like that, but I could really use a River because it's just that Accurate Wind River, I've used that so much that I just think it's just like the Fuse, but it's longer and it's just a great disc. So there's the Big Splash, 23 under. That's, again, pretty good with that. So for right now, sitting level 3, and I decided to walk you guys through one whole tournament. And so that's where I'm at, level 3, 4 aces, 49 eagles, decent stats, haven't leveled up yet. And I'll walk you through what is currently in the bag, just to do a quick bag check. So I've got the Accurate Windbreak Fuse, which again I'm using for approach shots, putts, and all that stuff. Accurate Windbreak Explorer, which is a great disc. Accurate Glide River, which, as I said before, I'd love to have the Accurate Windbreak because that's my favorite attribute combo. So the Accurate Windbreak Musket, and then the Wind Ballista, and then the No Attribute Ballista Pro. And so looking forward, I think what my next goal is, I've got a few other discs in the bag that I might use. I've got a Pioneer that might serve me well on some holes. And so I think the mid-range slot is going to be the next one. So I've got the expanded bag there, which is 5,000, and notice I'm a few thousand short. And so I think the next thing will be to open up that and then shift my Fuse into that slot, and then that opens up for another fairway driver. So most of those were just highlights from earlier rounds. So this one I decided to play through both rounds of the Precipice, so the 2-round B tier, and I'm going to speed things up a little bit as we play. And I figure double speed might have been a little too fast. So I just sped it up 50% just to make it go a little bit quicker. So hole one, so precipice, we're starting off on Crow's Nest. Hole one, we're throwing the Explorer. I could probably throw the Fuse as well, which I'm going to throw here on hole two. And again, these, as you start to learn these courses, the shots, I don't want to say become second nature, but you don't really think about them as much. Now, here's a tough shot. So, for example, we go a 3-wind right to left, and I went for it, and I was able to get the musket in there. That would be a tricky hole if there was a headwind or a left or right wind, because I would probably end up throwing a Ballista Pro just to kind of hammer it in that opening. But luckily with the tailwind, and even right here with the tailwind, I'm going to throw a Ballista Pro, but there's no skip to it. So see, it just does that. It just dies, and you're kind of in range here. I mean, you could make that, but that is not an ideal location. Like, you'd like to be a little further up there. The distance is okay. The 120, 130 range is all right. But that is the difference, kind of those little strokes where people wonder, like, does a glide skip Ballista Pro really make that much of a difference over the distance you have? And to a certain respect, I would say yes, but it has to be for specific holes, like that last Crow's Nest hole there, having a light glide Ballista Pro where I might be able to go up over the top with a wind of 2, or use my glide skip to kind of skip around the corner to give me a cleaner look at a throw in. So yes, those discs do have an advantage, but it's not a significant advantage. You're not going to get those and magically shave 3 strokes or off your score every round. Like, that's just not going to happen. But there are particular holes like Oak Hill and some of the longer holes where it will benefit you. So here on Crow's Nest, I like that route. So when there's a little left or right wind, I don't mind throwing the river, because the river will turn over, kind of skip off that top area there and slide down. But you have to use a river. You can't use an Explorer or a musket, anything that fades back too hard. Otherwise, you're risking it going down the hill and then into the water. So it's got to be something like the river that turns over a bit. In fact, I would argue the river is probably the only disc I would ever throw there backhand. I've done ace runs on daily tourneys where I'll throw a musket, and I've actually aced it doing that. But overall, if you're actually playing it in a multiplayer or pro tour or something where you really want to score well, oh, that almost skipped out of bounds. You don't really want to use anything that's even slightly overstable. That's just not a smart move. All right, so 11 under. I don't know if that's my personal best for this account on that, but that was pretty solid. And only tied though. So again, we're in the B tiers. So B tier, you gotta step up your game a little bit, even with a pretty solid 11 under. That's only tied for the lead. But I think if I duplicate that one more time, do another 11 under, that should take care of this. So we're back at, again, this course, the precipice is Crow's Nest twice, once forward, once backwards, and I chose this one. If you've watched any of my other videos, whether they're in my Zero to Hero series or my other ones, this is probably my favorite course. And I know a lot of people lean towards some of the newer ones, the Coyotes and things like that, because they're cool and they're kind of fresh. But this is the one that I've enjoyed for a really long time. I just enjoy the par fours. I enjoy the variety of the par threes. Even this one, I mean, Into the Cave. It's a very unique hole. Nice ambiance. It's nice. All right, so we're back at this guy. This is one where I would definitely not want to throw anything overstable, because that would most definitely get in the water. But see how I played it. Now, that was a little fortunate to get it up through the trees, but I was, in hindsight, if I were to have that again, I would probably throw my musket, the Accurate Wind musket forehand, and just kind of play that there and let it get over where those rocks are. And this hole is tricky because of that right there. Now see, that very easily could have rolled back to the left. I'm all over the place with this hole. Sometimes I'll play the big spike hyzer. Sometimes I'll play a really, really big spike hyzer. Other times I'll bounce it off the wall. It just kind of depends on what mood I'm in and what the wind's looking like. And I don't think I have a shot on there that I get 100% of the time. Like, every shot, there's always some weird thing. If I do the spike hyzer, I've actually had it land and roll back into the OB. If I go the bounce off the wall, sometimes you hit the tree. It's just, you never know. All right, so as we talked about before, there's probably not a good chance of that. Oh, so that's actually a pretty good location. I got around the corner enough to get a throw-in chance with my fuse, and that was just way too high. So as you see, this round, and the 2 rounds I should say for this tournament, are going pretty quickly with a 50% speed increase. So that's kind of nice. And so we've got a window 1 here. And so this is what I was talking about, disking up to the Ballista Pro and just slamming it down in there. And you never know with a 14 speed doing that. See, that even wanted to roll back in there. But I think with a no attribute Ballista Pro, it's not really going to do too much. It'll kind of turn itself back eventually. So we're pretty much home free. I've got the 2 Eagles, and I had said my goal is to get, if I get another 11, I think a 22 under should take care of it. And at the end of this run, we'll see. So that extra pouch I'd mentioned getting possibly the mid-range, but I think I don't really need to do too much with that. We'll see what our options are after this, see what's available in the shop and what we decide to go with. So there we go, 22 under, looks like 18 under, and you never know because some of those guys kind of sneak in. There might be a 20 under once we get back to the scoreboard. Nope, that was it, 18. So got a little more experience, a little more coinage, pretty solid result. So we are going to head over to the shop and see if we got enough coinage to take care of what we need to. And again, we're not going to get any good discs in here for a while, but the big thing right now is we are going to go ahead and purchase the mid-range slot. And this is very specific to my bag. Some of you may use the putter slot, but I putt with the fuse. We're going to go ahead and take the fuse out of my main 6. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to slide that into the mid-range slot, and that is my putter. And I think the Pioneer, the Accurate Glide Pioneer, I love the color. I have to decide, do I want that or do I want the Roll Ballista? We've got the Accurate Glide Compass there that is not a bad option. I don't really use Compass that much. We've got the Havocs, the Glide Havoc. I don't know if that disc is that much different than my Ballista because it's not a skip or anything. We do have the Roll Ballista, which could prove useful if I want to throw some rollers or if I want to use it. The Roll disc does have a nice grip to the ground, so it basically acts like a sticky driver. And so we get the Accurate Sticky Triple X, Accurate Glide Explorer. Again, I don't know if any of those are really that different from what I have, and so I think the Pioneer kind of fits a nice slot where it's a little more overstable than the Musket. And move things around a little bit here, and I think that's what we're going to end up going with. So nice solid bag of 7 with the fuse of the putter. And although this wasn't necessarily one of the more exciting videos, it does kind of illustrate the things you have to do in the grind, the churn that you have to go through to get the discs you need. And we're going to lead into episode 5, which we are going to jump into our first A tier, and I'll wait a little bit to decide. We're going to explore a little about what would be the most appropriate one to try for my bag. So I will see you guys in episode 5. Thanks for stopping by.